Something as well that just to bring you back to the Cage Rage days as well, you were mentioning there at the top there. What was that experience like, of course, working with a lot of the European guys over here involved, and just talk us through the Cage Rage days, because there was some barn burner fights that went down at Cage Rage.
It was such a magical time, because you gentlemen have to understand that my last name is Quadros, and that's a Portuguese name, and there's some Spanish in there, maybe some German. My mother, on the other hand, who I take after, if you look at my blue eyes and my cheekbones, I have some English, Irish, and Scottish blood in me. So when I was walking down the streets of the Wembley district, where the Cage Rage shows were at the Wembley Conference Center, then the Wembley Arena, I had just finished a book called Moon, which was the autobiography of Keith Moon, the drummer for The Who was a fantastic drummer and a crazy human being. Walking down the streets of Wembley, I felt like I was back home somehow. Now, the fights were rough around the edges, because at that time, the English fighters were really good on their feet, but didn't have a lot of ground, didn't have any wrestling so they started bringing in people like Vitor Shaolin Ribeiro, who was a Shuto champion. Bigfoot Silva became the heavyweight champion. Melvin Manoff, of course, became the the light heavyweight champion. And a little guy from Brazil, well, not so little, named Anderson Silva, this is before he fought in the UFC ever, came in and became the champion. So Andy Gear and Dave O'Donnell had this game plan to really try to build up an international organization. They're bringing fighters from around the world, from Russia. They had Amar Suluev, who is no longer with us and had his own checkered past. And when Amar fought, Fyodor Emelianenko was there as well at ringside. Mandalay came and watched some shows. Dana White came to a Cage Rage show with Stefan Bonner and Forrest Griffin, the winners and the runner-up for the first Ultimate Fighter. So there was a lot of traction worldwide that Cage Rage was having. Plus, there was the behind the scenes. Lee Murray was always there at the Cage Rage shows. Jose Pele Landi fought in the Cage Rage. It really had a buzz for a while. This was getting to the post-Pride era. And then it came to an end when Elite XC and Pro Elite bought Cage Rage, and all these other organizations realized they spent too much money and then had to basically put it out of its misery. And that kind of irked me, because I had a great rapport with the promoters, with Dave and Andy and all the fighters. Brad Pickett and I go way back. We got a long, here's a story. Okay, Brad Pickett is going to have his retirement fight pretty soon, right? Mm-hmm, yeah. And Brad is an old friend of mine. And when he first came in, he was like the Brad Pitt character in Snatch. Yeah. Had the whole gypsy vibe going on. He's totally rode that. One punch knockout, right? So I'm commentating with Malcolm Martin and Rob Nutley at a Cage Rage show. And so Brad Pitt is fighting. I'm sorry, I forget who he was fighting. The guy hits Brad in the mouth, and Brad's tooth flies out and lands on my notes in front of me. And I go, what? Oh, my God. So I go, there's blood on it. And so they're fighting. They continue fighting. Brad wins the fight. And then he comes over after the fight and says, Stephen, whatever he was saying. I said, oh, yeah, I have a present for you. And they had some gauze or whatever. So I took it and handed him his tooth. So I recently on social media had reminded him of that incident and wished him the best in his farewell fight, which is coming up shortly.